Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on another session of We Connect's Academy Learning from Women Leaders Around the World series. My name is Andrea, and today I am very happy to introduce Chala Dincoy, CEO and founder of the Repositioning Expert. For 20 years, Shala worked as an award winning marketer at companies like La Pizza Hut, Pepsi, Frito-Lay, Playtex, and Big Inc. Currently, as a marketing consultant and author of Gentle Marketing, a gentle way to attract lots of clients, Shala helps professional service companies change their messaging to attract more decision makers. In this webinar, she will provide big and to the point advice to help accelerate the growth of your business. Shala will teach us how to best use trust marketing to get corporations interested in services and in turn hire these services. This webinar will show us as a business selling to a corporation, trust marketing effectively helps businesses make connections with large corporate buyers. I'll let Shala introduce herself, but I would like to remind all the attendees that you are muted, and if you have any questions, please write them down in the chat box or the Q&A boxes, and I'll make sure to read them all out loud at the end of the webinar. This is a one-chance opportunity to learn as much as possible, so we encourage you to do as many questions as possible. Thank you, Shala. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I was just going to say thank you for having me, over and over again. I mean, you guys first gave me the platform to share my message with the entire, diverse WBE community. And things have gotten so big now because of that start that I just recently did a breakout of this topic and the elevator pitch topic at the NMSDC in Austin last month with 7,000 people going to that conference. So you guys have given me the platform, and this is where it all began. So I hope to, pay it forward, pay it back, and share some more of the nuggets that I've learned working for corporations and now working on the other side of the table. So thank you for that. So I just want to start. I start every webinar with turn off the distractions, turn off the phone, put it on silent. I mean, I did both for my landline and my phone, and then close any browser tabs and Facebook or Skype. And then, when I used to do corporate training and e-training in my room, we used to have a do not disturb, I'm doing training sign on my door. So put that up if you're in a corporate setting, or if you're at home, tell your family and friends and your pets not to bother you because you're about to learn something to change your life, your business, and ultimately theirs. So turn off everything else except for me. And stick around until the end. I love to give a carrot, and it is my book, a digital copy of my book, which you will get. It's called Are You Ready to Be a Gentle Marketer? And it tells you all the ways that you already have the best marketing tools and how to best reach the people that you're trying to speak to and what to say to them. And you get to download that if you stick around all the way to the end. And I also want to just start off by debunking a myth about trust, that it takes a long time. And in fact, I actually lost a client about this topic, about, she wanted to go in and have meeting after meeting with a prospect without talking about business or money or any of the thorny issues. She just wanted it to be a relationship build. And because she was convinced that it takes a long time to build trust. And I was so against that because I felt that you could even convert in a meeting, in a single meeting, and build that trust. And this is all I'm going to teach you in this call today. So anyway, we parted ways. She was so adamant about it, we parted ways. So hopefully you and I won't be parting ways until the end of the hour, but you're in the right place if you're finally in the meeting with the buyer for the contract of your life. Like, you've waited for this opportunity, oh my God, but oh my God, the internal team gets the project, or a competitor lands the contract, or their previous vendor gets the job, and you're just like bitter, resentful, what the heck went wrong? And you have no clue. Well, let me tell you, I was the person saying, no. And I worked for 20 years for some pretty big, sexy brands, and they were, Andrea just named off all of them. And one of the biggest ones was called Diageo, and they're the largest drinks company in the world, and they own Smirnoff and Tanqueray and Gordon's and Johnny Walker. So, I mean, these were all very successful brands. So I had a lot of people pitching me all the time. And 90% of those people got rejected for so many reasons. And we're going to go over some of those reasons in here. And for 6 years now, I've been on the other side of the table, and I've been the seller, and now I'm selling. So I am experiencing some of that rejection, and I'm experiencing, my clients are experiencing some of that rejection. But I know how to get through that rejection, and I know how to not get that rejection up front. So I'll tell you about what happened when I got my big break. When I first started my company, my boss at Playtex at the time, his wife was at a giant pharma company that, the name starts with a B. I won't say which one, but we had a very nice meeting. I mean, she granted me the meeting. I thought, oh my God, I'm having a meeting with this big company. I'm rich. This is it. This is the dream. And she invited I was selling coaching services. So she invited all the decision makers and all the different heads of the different departments. And I was like in heaven. And I thought, they're super interested. They listened to me for hours. And then at the end of the day, it went nowhere. And my aha moment came because I thought, okay, why did I just strike out here when all the things that were aligned were supposed to be here? And what was the difference between the vendors who used to get in when I used to say yes to them, or when I saw other decision makers in the company? And then how do I make a process out of this? So now I teach businesses how to turn around my failure in that meeting with that pharma company and get asked to come in for a sales meeting in the first place without using any of these people that you know and any personal networks, and how to discover how to build your authority in, and I call it the jaded eyes of the purchaser, because they're truly jaded. They get pitched so much because there's so much competition out there. And then I teach them how to learn how to integrate trust, which is created by authenticity and truth telling, into like the core of the marketing. And this is true. And by the way, I have some listeners who have B2C, business to consumer businesses. So, and it is just as critical that you build trust into your marketing DNA for B2B as B2C. And in some industries that are high risk, it's even more critical that you either healthcare or education, where populations at risk, like youth or children or elderly or ill people, are at risk. That's where you need more trust than any other business. So, and then of course I teach them how to close the sale faster, because that's one of the biggest pain points. In fact, I have a whole other webinar about this guy, like just waiting and waiting, how to cut that waiting time. So the results of what I've been able to do in my business is I truly am doing my life's dream joy job, I call, with clients that I love. And I could not have designed my life better than I have it today. And I've tripled my corporate, after 20 years of working for the corporations, only 3 years after starting my business. And it's still growing. And I have time to work out every day. So I kind of work half days because, I have so much capacity still, but I use it for so many other things, and it makes for such a balanced lifestyle. So I work out 2 hours during the day. I have a special needs 8, he's now 9, that I take to a number of therapists in private schools, because he's on the autism spectrum, and he's very high functioning, and nobody knows or can tell. And a lot of people thought I was crazy, and they thought I was some sort of helicopter mom when I started noticing things and I wanted him tested. But it turned out that early prevention is helping him. And so I'm so fortunate that this, the ability to do the things that I'm going to teach you on this call have allowed me to get him access, and to have access to him with my flexibility of schedule to be able to do that. And then, this is my toy. I drive my dream car with the 3 letters, which, everyone thinks is ridiculous, but it means something to me. So I always put it in there because it's part of what the dream that I'm living. So what we'll cover today is understand exactly what makes corporations either trust you or walk away. And it's that clear. And, you can discover in this call how the lack of trust causes corporations to price shop, and how to avoid blending in to the competitive landscape using these trust techniques. And you're going to be able to create powerful marketing materials that I'm going to show you. And one of the things that I do in my presentations is I don't give information. I just give examples. I just tell you stories, and I give you case examples. And I just recently came from a business conference, a really big one, a sold out one, where I was, closing keynote, and nobody was doing this. Everybody was giving information, and very few people were illustrating the information in stories. So you're going to see some clients' marketing materials that made their buyers say, okay, quicker. And you're going to learn how to respond when they say they need to think about it. And after this webinar, I'm hoping you'll no longer waste time on long lead sales, sales cycles that don't close. And you're going to get in the door before the RFP, because after the RFP, in a lot of cases, you're not even allowed to talk to the buyer. And then you ensure that you have a competitive edge no matter how expensive you are, so you don't have to drop your prices to compete, because that's not the basis of consideration anymore. And then, of course, my goodness, after you do all this, you reduce the stress and take a load off your back. So if you imagine a world where, imagine this, like the buyers are asking to meet with you and not the other way around, you're not chasing. And my mentor, Marg Hashi, always says, you never have to chase what comes to you. And it's so true. Imagine what would happen if buyers came to you. And then imagine a world where you know exactly what causes corporations to trust you, and you leverage that at all times. And you never lose another contract because of price, because you're not competing on price anymore. And you have a rinse and repeatable formula that circles and circles to make it happen over and over again. And you fill your pipeline the same way every year, and you become better at it and better at it and better at it. So we are in a, believe it or not, a trust deficit, what I want to call epidemic. I mean, when I was doing research to put this content together, I researched lies, and this came up. So the New York Times actually counted, and I'm not at all, I'm Canadian, I'm not at all political. I could, really care less about what Trump is doing or saying, except, it makes me giggle sometimes, but because I just can't believe it. But they've actually tracked how, they've caught him in a lie every single day. And it's really hilarious. So that's, one aspect of what's happening in the environment. And then, of course, the Weinstein effect, which really started happening in 2017. And we're now going on to 2019, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and more people are coming forward. And it's just sadly become such almost like a witch hunting environment of distrust. So, it could be enough to end your career for one person to finger point to you, whether it's justified or not. There's no way to prove it. There's no way to prove for it. There's no way to do anything about it. And that's what's so scary about it. It's so under control. Now, it's not to say that it's not justified or warranted, or that so many women haven't been subjugated to that. Luckily, I've never been. I don't know why, because I've always worked for giant corporations who had really tough mandates on those things. Or I just didn't attract that kind of thing, but I've been lucky. So it's just that part of that whole, lack of trust environment. So now they did some research, and Americans' trust in others has tanked in the past 30 years. And the percentage of people who think that most folks can be trusted went down, from 72 to 2016, all the way, 46% to 31. And this is even the worst. What's the problem with trust in business is, look at how when they ask, who do you consider to be trustworthy? Salesperson and marketer are 3%. They're almost at the very bottom. And the last is lobbyist, car salesman, and politician. It's like so horrible. And then, of course, the number one is doctor, firefighter, teacher, or nurse. So I always joke that if you're, putting your profile on a dating site, you should probably never tell anyone that you're a marketer or salesperson, because you probably won't be trusted. And then 84% of buyers think salespeople are pushy. So this is all the whole trust issue, right? When they ask what buyers with negative sales experiences encountered, buyers with negative sales experiences say the salesperson did not avoid being pushy, 84%. And that was one of the highest, right? And why is this a problem? Well, wasted marketing budgets cost companies a minimum of $1 trillion a year. So it's not working because they don't trust the marketing. And the B2B sellers waste on average over $38,000 per year in direct costs on meetings that go nowhere. Again, it's because you couldn't get them to trust you that they said no or no to the next meeting, that it went nowhere. And then 62% of initial meetings do not progress to the next meeting. So people can't even, not only are they spending the 38,000 on the first meeting, they can't even get to the next one. So why don't corporations trust you? Well, first of all, there's too many opinions. For new purchases, like people who have never purchased from you before, companies, half of them will involve 4 or more people in the process, like too many cooks in the kitchen. And for an existing vendor that they bought from before, like 3/4 will involve 3 or fewer people. Still so many cooks in the kitchen. And they're scared to make a mistake, these guys. They ask them, have you ever wanted to buy a new solution, like a new purchase, but have not spoken up about it? Almost half said yes. And in the second chart on the right, you can see the reason for that is because they don't want to lose respect, credibility, or their job. And this grows worse and worse and worse as the size of the buying team goes bigger. So they are more worried the bigger the company, the bigger the buying team. So the whole lack of trust environment is that companies are, used to put out media releases and advertising, and people used to trust that information, but no more. People trust each other. They are more likely to look at reviews, even B2B reviews, than any information that the company itself is claiming. So here's an example of an email that I got. This guy, Josh Wardini, from a webmasters jury, he's a community manager, emailed me and kept emailing me and emailing me and emailing me. And he kept saying, I'm not sure if you've received it. I emailed you recently. I haven't heard back. So I got really interested. And he's just trying to sell me something, right? And I thought, I thought I'll just, search this guy on the web, because I thought it was like too repetitive. I thought it was too aggressive. And of course, what I found is he'd been on a wall of shame, which is a post of people who are doing bad marketing and who are being too aggressive and offensive in their marketing. So information is out there. Users and peers are rating you. And if you get onto some sort of bad rating or wall of shame, it's really hard to lose that reputation. And look at this about trust, that we trust the sharing economy more than our own neighbors. 42% neighbors, and then the Uber and Lyft drivers are 88%, twice as much as the neighbor next to you, which is crazy. Even bankers, I mean, look at those. And Airbnb is a community. This is the CEO of Airbnb, was saying that the community is built on trust, and trust serves as the infrastructure. And on the bottom is a host, an Airbnb host's house, after they rented it with a fake credit card and through a drug-induced orgy. So yet on the one hand, there's so little trust, and then on the other, in the sharing economy, it's built entirely on trust, and people are using it. And then on the other hand, they're abusing it. So there's such a dichotomy, and trust is this huge buzzword and issue. And so companies are building trust through technology, where with just, and they're helping you with the pop-ups, with the touch of a button, with the flick of a hand or a wrist, you build trust through technology and say, I love this driver, or the driver says, I love this person who just took a ride. So what can you do to put that into your own marketing so that you can gain trust quickly? So what corporate buyers want is, first of all, they're time starved. They want something quick. Did you know that 81% of them wish they could spend more time with their kids? I mean, that's a huge number. That's almost all of them. And almost half of them work, more than half work overtime and work non-required weekends. And they're working overtime bothers significant other or family, a third of them, which is still significant. And then the other piece of the pie is that emotions turned out to be, in research, twice as important as what you can do for their business. So the buyers really care about themselves. So look at what the percentage when they said, what is the impact of perceived brand benefit on commercial outcome? So the business value, which is the ROI, they were only 21% interested, but 42% were interested in getting something out of it for themselves, whether it's their values are being met, their self-image, they're connecting with the values of the buyer or of the seller, whatever the seller's doing or saying or selling gives them more popularity, confidence, or career advancement. So if they see no personal value, and as I said, personal value was the professional, social, emotional, self-image benefits. When they don't see a personal value, they're over 3 times less likely to purchase and over 7 times less likely to pay you more. It's insane how important it is for them to feel better having bought your services. And I'm going to show you what makes them feel better for having bought your services. So trust, it looks like, according to research, equals the personal value of how they feel about the purchase plus the business value of what it's actually going to do as a result. So, as a result to improve the condition of whoever they're buying for. So here's 3 ways to gain trust. 1 is authority, and I'm going to explain all of these with examples. 2 is authenticity, and 3 is the proof of success. And I'm just going to take a sip of my chamomile tea. So the trust strategy number 1 is authority. Who would you trust more? Imagine if someone says they're both a podiatrist and an optometrist. Or imagine if you have a rash, do you want a GP or a dermatologist? And imagine that they cost the same thing. So when somebody is looking for a specialist, that's when they're really in pain. That's when the stakes are high and it's important. And why do you get price shocked? Well, imagine if you have nothing different about you, your business, your service, your offerings, your products, nothing at all different that could be perceived. Then you look like all these bottles on the shelf, which I used to sell vodka, and it has no smell, no taste. And the only way to differentiate it would be through its marketing and positioning and targeting and messaging and artwork and design. But if we strip all that and you become one of the businesses that are out there, thousands, millions of businesses that are out there that are not differentiated, the only way somebody can tell what the difference is by the price. That's why you get price shocked. So here's an example of why, and I'm building up a case for being an expert in an authority in your category. And it was a very, and I've talked about this, it's from Robert Cialdini's Influence book, where he talks about this experiment where people were asked to shock victims when they answered the wrong answer to questions. And these guys pressed in white lab coats like this guy, urged them to keep giving more shocks and to keep giving shocks. And the participants were told, like, every time they get it wrong, you increase it in intensity and more and more and more. And these people that were the people who were shocking the victims were just like ordinary bus drivers and housewives and teachers, just regular people off the street like you and me. And 2/3 of these monsters ignored it when the victims were screaming, and the victims were like actors and they were faking it to the full dose. But when they later interviewed these normal people, they said, well, what the hell was wrong with you? Why are you like, in some cases they killed people. And they said, well, it's because of the guy, in the white lab coat, he was an authority and we believed him, we trusted him, and we did everything he said. So imagine using that psychology and influence in your sales and in your marketing. When somebody's an expert, they influence more. So how do you become an authority? Well, you get really specific about your expertise and then you get visible. So how do you get specific? Well, let me take you through, and if you've seen any of my work, you've seen this model before. This is the model for a business. So the top is the customers, the bottom's the products and services, and the square is that I'll work with all different customer types and sell all different kinds of products. And most businesses, when I meet them, are in the square. The next shape over is they are just a product specialist and yet they still sell to all these customers. The next shape over is they just sell to one customer group and they sell all their products and services. And then the last is a just a very specialized kind of business which has only one type of customer and one type of product or service that they sell to them. And I've nicknamed these guys. So the product specialist is just the Starbucks because that's all they do is coffee, or Chuck E. Cheese is they're just the customer centric, which is all they do are kids. And then the golden position is one that does both. And it takes an average, now remember this, an average of 5 to 7 brand impressions. Now I've read, before someone will remember your brand, Action Card is where it's sourced from, but I've actually read this has gone up in the glut of information in today's world from 7 to 12. So here's what you do with, remember this chart that I showed you, who your customer is going to be? Well, you plop them in the middle of your target market, and I call this your customer sun because it's the worldview of your target market. And what you do is you cater to them in this world because this is their world. That's all they see. So you, as long as you put your marketing in their world, they think you're everywhere, but you're not. You're just in their world everywhere. So you look at what publications these guys, so let's say the target market is, let me see. Yeah, I've given an example of, this was from a client, food and beverage. Her target market person was the food and beverage CXO, so CMO, like the chief marketing officer. And so the top spoke, what I call them the spoke of the sun, is for B2C. So let's say you sell to consumers. You look at what a lot of them like or do that you can have in common. Do they all drive, electric cars? Do they all hang out at a country club, or do they all golf? And then you try to get to meet them, network with them, and get your marketing in front of them through there. Now for B2B, you look at what publications and media they consume. You look at what associations and organizations they're networking and gathering at. You go to their meetings, conferences, trade shows, and events. You joint venture with other professionals who already sell to that target. You also joint venture with your competitors who kind of do the same thing but have something a little bit different about you that they're still willing to introduce you because you're not a direct competitor. So this is the worldview of your target market, and it's what I use with my clients as their marketing plan. So example of a specialized authority is, this was a client that I met at somebody else's networking, and I honestly was scared to be alone with him because I thought he was scary, but it turned out he had like the biggest heart in the world. Now one of the best people in my life that I consider a friend. And this was his website, GR Marketing Strategist, and it was the name of this was the website. He was a marketing strategist, and it said the heart of your business success lies in its marketing and distribution. And when we did the research, we found out that the number one expertise that he needed to have was to get small food manufacturers like cookies and soups into the grocery stores. So he could get them into Loblaws, into Whole Foods, because that's their number one problem, marketing to get you listed. So the name of the company became fooddistributionguy.com. And then, of course, on his website, he was asking, do you want to get listed and stay listed in grocery stores? Because apparently that's another problem. You pay all the listing fees, you get listed, and then boom, if you're not pulling enough, you're gone. So he got so successful, he went from 0 to 16 new clients in that year through this repositioning, and because he became an expert. Here's another client. This is a B2C example. This was her business before we met. She was a financial wealth planner, a financial advisor, and the name of the company was a mishmash of her own name. And she had one of these turning, home pages with the pictures of different things. So she did everything under the sun. So she did retirement, she did, succession planning, she did insurance, you name it, she would do everything. So when we did the research, we found out that the number one expertise that she needed to have was for divorcing women, because their number one problem is that they're really worried about maintaining their lifestyle after the divorce. So, and they have no idea what their financial situation is now or going to be later. So we niched her in divorcing women and giving them choice through clarity. So her website became divorcingwoman.ca. Are you thinking about divorce? And then are you trying to understand your financial position? So she went from wealth advisor to divorcing women money expert. Here's another client who went from leadership consultant to a bank change management expert. And this is how her logo changed, and even her brand name changed from just her name, Sarah Guillet-Couteau, to leaderchanger.com. And then her tagline became helping banks thrive through change, because that was her niche. So she became a real big expert and started doing roundtables around that topic. Here's another way that we talk about, and remember I was talking about collateral. The expert positioning on this collateral, we changed for an ad agency to just a generic ad agency to, we repositioned them as the retail traffic flow expert, because apparently in retail stores, it's a huge issue how the traffic flows, because the spend per square foot goes up if the flow is correct. And if it's not correct, it goes down. So this is what they became, and they did an infographic on a postcard, like a glossy, thick gloss, high resolution, and they passed this out at their trade show and at their matchmakers, and they had a phenomenal success. And they were speaking at this year's actually Canadian, one of the WBE Canadian conferences. So for multiple pillars, like I always get the question, Chala, can I have multiple expertise? And yes, you can, if you're a big enough company like Salesforce to have different sales reps, different departments, different budgets, and different marketing plans, and different messaging for all of the different verticals and expertise. And here's another way that a company did it. They're Canadian, they're called National Brokers Insurance. They're actually a WBE, and this is their regular site, and they decided to niche and become an expert in women's, because apparently in women's insurance, they have different needs. So what they did is they sub-branded a complete new brand name called Bloom, where they completely have a different look, different logo, different colors, and different message for just women. So the second part of the authority is the get visible. And 65% of buyers, B2B buyers, report that the winning vendor's content had a significant impact. So, and there's all sorts of stats about how many people watch the video of the person selling to them, how many people read their website, how many people read their blogs. It's a ton. It's a ton. So you need to be out there. You need to be writing blogs. And one of the things I love to talk about with blogs and with my clients is a lot of clients that I meet are outsourcing it when we meet. And then when they find out that really it's them, they have the knowledge, and I give them a formula to be able to put that knowledge out into short blogs, whether they're voice blogs or they're video blogs, which are called vlogs, or their written style. It serves them better to be doing the blogging or the vlogging or whatever than a third party that marketing person, young marketing person who knows how to do social media but knows nothing about their business. And there's no way that you can transfer 30, 40, 50, whatever, how many years your team has collectively of experience in what you do. And there's all sorts of data that says that the CEO posting, those companies have a higher share price. So if you're outsourcing your blogging to someone else, think again, and maybe at least give them some bullet points of what the story needs to be before you give it to them. Here's another way that you can become an authority and become visible through your authorities, something called executive roundtables. And they're intimate groups of 8 high-level decision makers. They're gathered with, they sign NDAs, and they're gathered for a facilitated discussion around a common and costly pain point. That's the reason why they're there. And just by virtue of the fact that you're doing it, it positions you as an expert. You're the facilitator, so again, it positions you as an expert. Here's another one, is conference coaching. And this is something that I did at the last WeBank. I did it at the WeBank West. I did it at the NMSDC. I do it almost at every conference that I've been to in the last year. And what it is people sign up for like 20-minute sessions about the topic of interest. And it's at conferences that have, at least 75% concentration of your target market, which is the middle of the sun. And this works fabulously. This gives you a one-on-one, almost like a sales session with everyone, just to be able to hear their pain and see how you can help them. Another way to establish authority and visibility is to publish a book or three. I have three. I'm going to be writing another one. God help me. Um, and the reason for that is because like it's just so easy to publish these days. Now, is it easy to write? Well, if you are my client and you have the formula to put together blogs, you put 10 blogs together and you publish a book. And it's, you can upload to Kindle, KDP digital, Kindle digital press in 24 hours, and you can have it formatted on a website called Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com, for like a very affordable price. You can have it like that's the How to Win Friends the Way Apple Wins Customers is the book that it's just on Kindle, and I did it just for my press work. So then the trust strategy number two is authenticity. And the elements of authenticity is like, first of all, do you get them? Do you understand them? Are you speaking their language? That's that to then they feel like you understand them, you know them, you're authentic to them. Then the other side of it is about you. So the first part is about them, the other side is about you. Are you honest and are you out there? Can they see that as transparency? So use the target's pain language so that they think you get them. Because 70% of people make a purchasing decision to solve problems. That's why people buy. And only 30% to gain something. So if you're not talking about their pain, you're not leveraging this very huge statistic. And here's an example. This was actually, she was a friend through the daycare, through Logan's daycare and school. And her name is Michelle. And you can see she's like, gorgeous and young. And her younger sister passed away suddenly, I think from a brain aneurysm, I'm not sure. And she was at the time, Michelle was working for the government. And she said, Chala, you have to find me a career. Like I can't die working for the government. So when we did the research, we very quickly found out that millennials in the workplace is a big, big problem. And we were able to match her background and her skill set, education, and passion to become this millennial strategist, because here's what her website and all of my clients, if they've implemented what I've suggested, their websites are pain-based at the at the landing page. And this is the pain that she helps solve is by the end of 2020, 2 out of 3 millennials are going to leave. They're hoping to quit, like it's horrible. And then, she gives the solution. What if we could show you a simple process that quickly allows millennials to thrive and integrates the cross-generational workforce? Because, old people have to work with young people and they're just having so many issues just communicating. So then her company became millennialstrategist.com. Her tagline became attract, lead, and grow. And she was able to, retire permanently from the government and have her own business and live her own life. And she fulfilled what she wanted to at this young age because it's working, and it's working because it's based on the pain that we found in a huge, huge way in the market. So here's another pain-based marketing example. Remember I told you I'm going to show you examples of marketing collateral? Well, the number one marketing collateral for trade shows is this, right? It's these pull-up banners that you have at the trade shows. So my client, Britain Management, they do checks, background checks for before you hire someone. And this was literally their signage for a trade show before they met me. And they used it like a brochure or something, and they put so much copy on it, I wasn't really sure. Nobody would read that. So then when we repositioned them through the research, we found out that the number one problem is that employers don't really know who they're hiring. And what they do is they reveal the real candidate. And we found an appropriate image that matched that with the masks. And we even had the idea of having them wear the masks, all the staff wear the masks, and then putting the mask onto the printed, imprinted pens. So it was a wild success. And again, another way to position pain-based expertise in marketing is they, at the booth, the Britain Management had these postcards of the 5 pre-employment screening mistakes that cost companies thousands of dollars. Look at how carefully those words play into the pain. It's all about the pain, right? Here's another demonstration of a website using pain-based marketing. And this product is called Julie Desk, and it's an artificial intelligence-based personal assistant. And just so simple. I love how the treatment of this simplicity of the pain messages, want to get back 1 hour of your workday? Like, how much time could I save you? It's so simple, and yet it's so based on a pain. Here's another example of how pain is used in marketing to communicate effectively to gain the trust. Is there's a bride crying because her wedding has, something terrible has happened. A fatal flaw has happened in her wedding. And this is by a woman that I met networking, and it was brilliant. Like, she gave me the postcard. Again, it was like high gloss, high stock, and the name of the company is Love by Lindsay, and she is a wedding event planner, and she holds, again, very clever, in the sun. She goes into the sun of the brides, which is into bridal boutiques. So the bridal boutique has obviously a mailing list of people who are interested or who are about to get married, and she invites them into this sort of tea time, or like champagne, and just talks to them in the bridal shops about fatal flaws and simple solves. And look at the imagery. It's all about the pain. That's why it's so effective. So that's one way to become trustworthy, is to talk about their pain. The second is to be honest, to be authentic. So Brene Brown is a researcher. I call her the vulnerability researcher. That's her topic. She's done TED Talks. She's got books. She's famous. She's been on Oprah a number of times. So what she's found in her research is that perfectionism is correlated with depression, anxiety, addiction, and it stops you from being able to do things, and it has you miss opportunities. So in my experience, the fears that prevent CEOs from being their authentic self and saying what they really think about the industry, about the situation, about their competitors, about themselves, is they're fearing rejection, loss of business, loss of face, or appearing unprofessional. So one of the things that's interesting is I've just started a journey in fitness, that I've taken, my body fat percent from 18 to 16 now, and it's made a huge difference. And I've learned so much about my diet that I'm actually doing a photography session for fitness, and then starting a personal blog, not a business blog, but a personal blog about my journey at my age. And people are responding in droves in a way that is so surprising to me, that is just so inspiring to me, that is like, I would never even think of putting my body on display in public, in case some of those people saw it in public, because some of those people I do business with, some of them are clients or old clients. And I could have, stopped myself from the fear of rejection or loss of business, loss of face, or appearing unprofessional. But it's part of my authenticity. And it starts more conversations with buyers than anything else, because most of them are my age and trying to lose weight. So that it was such a good revelation of, and in fact, for the next time that I do this presentation, I might even put up pictures of what my post looks like. So, here's Kelsey Ramsden. She's like 2-time winner of the Canadian Female Entrepreneur of the Year award. And she calls herself the barefoot CEO, and you can't see her feet, but she's usually sitting on her, boardroom furniture, and she's barefoot. So she's very, very authentic. And here's another, this is an HR company, and look at their about page. Like, this is the CEO is like the domestic maven, the volunteer, like, and then this, the other women are wearing such funny things and they look crazy, but this is one of the fastest growing women-owned companies in the US. And you've heard of Anita Roddick, who has passed away a number of years ago, sadly from cancer, but The Body Shop. And look at how her why was to give. And, she was an animal activist and she was a human activist. So use your why and then say what you mean. This is Suzanne Evans. She's a multi-million-dollar coach in the US. And she's a very potty mouth, direct New Yorker. And, she's a former opera singer. Her event is Grow Up Hair Live. and look at the graphics on it. And she's saying, shut up, stop whining and make money now. And some people are offended by that, but other people think it's very authentic and they love her for it. She's built a multi-million-dollar business out of it. And then, of course, you know Sheryl Sandberg, the COO of Facebook, where her, like this is very fresh. Several years ago, her husband died suddenly. And, she shared every single feeling that she had and all the loss that she was feeling. And she is in such a male-dominated industry, and yet she still is sharing, and to such a degree, and such personal things, and it didn't take away from who she is or what her value is in a professional sense. And of course, while you're being authentic, you have to be visible to be authentic. But 6 out of every 10 women in the world stop doing what they love, because they feel bad about how they look. And because I've been following all these, fitness blogs, just recently I saw one where the coach posted a story about a woman who is looking for someone to take her children swimming because she can't be in the pool with her children because she doesn't like the way she looks. And like, how sad is that? Like 6 out of every 10 women can't do things. And then 82% of Canadian, and I'm sure this is true for the US, of women are camera shy. They've hidden or felt self-conscious. And that's me. And I can hardly believe that I'm doing a photo shoot to put myself out there. But I mean, Dove had a camera proud challenge. It's really heartbreaking. And then if you can be visible, like Christine McGee in Canada, who's like the head of the largest mattress company in Canada, wildly successful, has her face on everything. That's the ticket. And it's not because she's the only owner, and it's not because she doesn't have employees. No, it's because she's the face of Sleep Country, and it's okay for her to be on every single ad and website. And then, of course, Marissa Mayer, I mean, she was the youngest CEO of Yahoo, and she was doing like Vogue covers. She's a CEO in one of the most male-dominated industries, and yet she's visible in a way that's very feminine. But yes, she's visible. In marketing, visibility equals money. And then, of course, there's media appearances, which I've done 19 so far, but I've signed another 3-pack deal to do. I'm speaking at NASDAQ in December, at Harvard in June, and doing another launch of Celebrity Launchpad, which is how the 19 appearances all got started. You don't have to do that, but the more you do, the more you're out there, the more people will believe you, the more they'll trust you. I hope you're getting the idea. So regular visibility. Be on your website. I can't even tell you how many of my clients refuse to be on their websites. And be on your About page. So if you can be everywhere on your website, to me, that's great. Be on your tips sheets. If you're my client, I'm going to get your picture. I'm going to get you to redo your picture, and with my favorite photography if you're local, and get yourself onto your marketing collateral. And there's other excuses to be visible. So you can invite to your webinar, like I'm visible. And you know what? The organizers, God bless them, Andrea and oh my gosh, I'm blanking out, but her assistant told me it's okay if you shut off your camera. And Carle, it's okay if you shut off your camera. And I have no idea if you can still see me. You probably can. But I said no, because it engages more. And I chose that visibility, even though my hair probably looks terrible. So yeah, launch a new product or book, and notice I put myself on the book, right? Try to do visibility. Wine and cheeses, you can invite them to. So this is like excuses to show your face in their world. Lunch and learns, executive roundtables, excuses that they're going to know your face. Your keynote, if at their industry conference, they're going to get to know you. Your booth, they're going to get to see your face, your free white paper or download. And other ones are you can send them relevant articles, and they're going to go, okay, who is this person? Introductions to prospects. Who doesn't like more sales for themselves? News items about their competitors. Birthday greetings. I couldn't believe. I mean, this is so old fashioned, but it still works because somebody did it on me and it worked so well. And then the third one is, and I'm going as fast as I can, is proof. So develop your own process to solve the target's problem. And this was a client, she's in New York. and she has a wine company. And we developed like a wine company. What the heck can you develop for a wine company? So we developed for them a 7-step process. This is very similar to the easy button that Staples has. Like there's no actual button. I mean, there is one, but it's a toy. So it doesn't really, when you press it, nothing really happens. But the whole idea is that we've developed a marketing idea and concept around the brand. So this is what we did with the wine company, is that they have their claim to fame that we crafted is that they have fly off the shelf kind of wine. It never sits in inventory. It never sits on the shelf because it is so popular, so good, and priced so right. And the reason why it's like that is because of the very process that we created, that we have, which we developed the concept, and we take them through all the different steps. And before meeting me, my client was like, I don't have an expertise in anything. I'm not doing anything different. There's no process. We just do things. So we sat and crafted it together. And it turned out that this is now what they're using when they're talking to not just their prospects, but also when they're presenting at large to the industry. Because when you have a process, only experts have a process. So you can also see proof in sales emails. So for example, we crafted this sales email for a client. I'm Nancy. I got your name from the consulate name, and I wanted to follow up on my emails. I see that and you talk about their pain. Recently launched, new initiative, new purchase, new territory, and would love to share some ideas and how we've helped, for example, somebody in their industry, Microsoft, increase 9% in 2 weeks in retail, even though it's a very hard to explain product. And then I'm in your area for the next week. I'd love to connect if you think this would be of value. So in sales presentations, the way you do this is to prove that you've helped people in the same pain in the same industry, how you helped them and what their results were. Just tell these stories and then co-create the solution together and get agreement to the budget. So that's just at the end of the meeting. And then example of a sales presentation story is, for example, my client, this ex-logistics company, was niched in petrochemical company. So when they went to their matchmaking, what they told was the story that sensitive materials are always delayed in shipping, like pharmaceuticals or petrochemicals, costing them 1.5 million a year in penalties. And they're called, I'm trying to remember, it's a French word, demurrage. Yeah, demurrage. They call them demurrage. So what my client's ex-logistics did that they were saying in this presentation was, we reorganized the back office. We took the load through the barge and we retrained the staff. So they take 3 or 4 steps of what they did from an overview perspective. You don't want to give them too much, otherwise they'll go and do it with their own internal team. And then they talk about the result. Well, guess what? That problem reduced, and the solution reduced the annual delay demurrage by 70%. So this itself, this construct, is the proof of how they helped somebody in the same industry with most likely the same kind of pain. And they bring it to life and make it vivid and believable. And testimonials are huge. I mean, my client, God bless him, he's so funny. He sent me this, this picture with the check of him like triumphantly, and he really was so stoked. I was so happy for him. And this is what he says, like, sales call this past Monday, family day, which was a holiday, same day sale, check arrives from BC 3 days later, entire year paid in full, and 2 new clients landed and all this. So like, it's just, if you have testimonials, it's proof, but it has to be, and I often write my own testimonials for people that I'm asking testimonials from, and they either, change it or edit it, or they just accept it. Most people just accept it. But the construct has to be the same: what the problem was, what I did to solve it, and what the results were. Audio testimonials, video testimonials, LinkedIn, huge. I do both, right? I ask people to give me the LinkedIn testimonials, and then I use them on my actual site. And then case studies, huge. You have to use them. So summary: to build the trust, you needed the authority, you need the authenticity, and the proof of success. So I know I'm going over time here, but to go over my ideas for your sales challenges one-on-one, if you want a complimentary strategy session with me, please email me at chala@repositioner.com or call my number there, and we will set something up in the next week, and I will take you through what I think you should do, and you can ask me any other question that you have. or if you have a bigger need to work with me one-on-one to improve your sales or your sales team, then we can have that conversation and you can ask me what that looks like. So here you are, repositioner.com/book. If you want to download your book, go ahead and write that down. I know I'm going really fast, but Andrea, if you're still on the call, you can open it up for questions and let me know. Let me know if anyone has questions and I'll sip my tea. Let me just check out if there's anybody left on the call. Wow, we've got some. So are there any questions? And Andrea, do you have anything to add?
Sorry, the audio for 1 second didn't work. But yes, if anybody would like to say make some questions, we have 5 minutes and we have some comments. Let me open. No question, but great info here, Chala.
Good, good. Well, hopefully that means I've answered all their questions. I always think positive.
There's 4 more minutes, people. If you have any follow-up question, I think there is. Thank you, Chala. It was very informative, but I do not have any questions. Okay.
That's great. So I want to, I just want to end it with my quote. The hardest part of change is not making the same choice as yesterday, meaning if you hang up and go back to your office and do the same things that you've been doing every day, nothing's going to change. So the hardest part isn't learning. The hardest part is doing something different with what you've learned. And if you have any questions, again, thank you for being here and taking the time to stay here and listen to me. And you can again reach me at chala@repositioner.com. And thanks.
Write down your questions, please. You're on mute, so please, if you have questions, write them down because I think there might be some confusion about how to make the questions. Please write them down.
So you write them in that questions box, right?
Yeah, I have a question from Pritika, but she's saying I have a question, but nothing else. So if you could please type your question.
Yeah, I can't see it either.
Yeah, how to approach a big corporation like Marriott.
Okay, well, it first starts with becoming an expert in one of their problems. And then it's...
Yeah, when you're a small supplier. Sorry, I needed to add that.
Sorry, say that again.
When you are a small supplier, how do you approach a big corporation like Marriott when you're a small supplier?
A small supplier, yeah, it doesn't matter. Size doesn't matter. I actually wrote a blog about that because I have purchased from small suppliers, even though I worked for giant corporations. It's not as often, but it does happen. So what has to happen is you have to be an extreme specialist in that one specialty, in that one thing, and then you have to have content and visibility. Like you have to be on stages, you have to be blogging, you have to have videos, you have to have opportunities. Everything has to show that you're talking about that one expertise, that problem that you solve, and not just for them, but for all their industry. So you have to look like an expert in the hospitality or hotel industry, and you have to look like you're an expert in that one problem that you solve. Okay? Does that make sense?
I think so. We have another question. I published a book in October. When do you think I should publish the next one? I'm in food e-commerce business, B2C. Thanks.
Right. So it really depends on what you did with the first one. Did you leverage it into more business? I mean, you can just write one book and that's it. The reason why I write so many is because I try to get onto TV again and again. And on TV, they really just want new books. So, but the gentle marketing, it's an evergreen, and I've been using it for the past 6 years. I think I wrote it 5, 6 years ago. And it's really what you're doing. And I never sell it. I give it away, and people who read it come back to me as a client. I gift it to prospects that I think would read it and are interested. It's like a giant calling card. It's like a giant business card. So I never ever, and it's credibility. And I use it to get on TV. But for TV, I have to create new ones. But most people aren't going on TV. So just make the most of what you've got. There's no reason. If you're going to spend time writing another new book, I'd rather you spend time trying to get on stages or trying to do executive roundtables or trying to do something with the book that you have, if that makes any sense.
Yes, I think it does. Thank you so much, Chala. Our time is up. Everybody's thanking you for such a great webinar. I think all the information, all the webinars that you do are very helpful for all the attendees that we have on our webinars. Thank you so much for today. And just a reminder that this webinar has been recorded, so you will get an e-message with the recording very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good weekend, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.